as you know, I love to come out and about and meet with people. And when I do that, the thing I'm particularly interested in is how their faith has shaped their lives, how being Christian has enabled them to make sense of different life situations and challenges that we face. So I've come a bit of a journey today to meet a good friend of mine, but I'm not going to introduce her straight away because I wonder some of you might be able to guess who it is that I'm meeting with. So here's a clue. This is a local landmark. See from this whether you can guess where I am. And so I'm going to just see if you can't guess where I am or who I'm visiting, if you recognise the voice. Hi, good morning, how are you doing?
Good morning, Paul.
So now I'm sure some of you already know who I'm speaking to, and it's Mandy. Hi Mandy, good to see you.
Hiya, Paul.
So let me just introduce you to who Mandy is. Many of you will know Mandy really well because Mandy was the Associate Minister at our church, Minister in Training, and she's now up in, tell me where you are, Mandy?
Stratford-upon-Avon.
Stratford-upon-Avon, the birthplace of William Shakespeare.
Yep.
So I've come up to see Mandy and to meet up, just to talk to you about where you are now, as a bit of an update for friends back home, but also actually for those that don't know you, just the sort of interesting aspects of your journey. So just by way of an intro, just tell us how long you've been here and what it was that made you decide to come here.
Okay, so I've been here about 3 years, just over 3 years now, and I'm so pleased to say that it's not compulsory to like Shakespeare before you come to Stratford-upon-Avon. We have yet to go to the theatre and see a William Shakespeare play. But so we've been here for about 3 years, 6 months and then lockdown. Lockdown is kind of like that kind of guiding post of everything else in life, isn't it really? Our time scales all revolve around COVID. So 6 months, then lockdown, and now it's been probably a year of not being in lockdown, which has been really good. So it's always a hard question to say, why have you come somewhere? I think it's a harder question sometimes to say, why have you left somewhere? Because I was really, really happy. We were really, really happy in Dorchester. We had an amazing 15 years at Dorchester Baptist Church. Absolutely loved our time there. Loved and love the people there. So it was a kind of real heartbreak to kind of feel that God was saying, time to move on, time to... The phrase "spread your wings" is one that I've kind of used a lot, and that's how it kind of felt. It was time to go solo, to spread my wings, and to see whether if I were planted somewhere else I would flourish or or decease. I don't know.
So Mandy, you say there that you've been here just over 3 years. You came just literally before COVID, before lockdown. That must have been hugely challenging. A new minister, a new church, new people to get to know. How did you find those challenges? Were there still some good bits in there somewhere?
Yeah, there were actually. COVID for us here at Stratford Baptist Church was strangely a really positive time. It is hard because you're trying to form relationships and you don't get to know people deeply in 6 months. But we tried really hard during that lockdown period to kind of cement one another together. So we did a lot of communicating, through emails and through services online. And Lee was amazing. He cycled around most of Stratford at least twice a week, delivering things, CDs and orders of service to people. And coming out of lockdown, I kind of said to the church, I feel like we've been, bricks, God's people, and we've been built together. But actually, during lockdown, He cemented us together. So actually, bizarrely, it was very positive, although it was absolutely a production line, and you kind of don't have the one-to-one, face-to-face, and that's not nice. But we're quite versatile and flexible, and it was quite interesting to do things differently and to see what happens when you can't actually meet in a church. So it was an interesting time.
So we were talking last night, and I went to the church, had a look around. You were showing me some of the things that you've done. You've just done a whole load of building work at the church, and some many challenges that have gone with that. It was great to be able to see it, and maybe we should have thought about it, take the cameras and show people, because it's quite a special place. There's something about the resource you've got there. But I wonder, what things are you getting excited about? We talked a bit last night, being out of lockdown, meeting together, the community that you've got there is growing. But maybe just share something of kind of the excitement stirring in you for that possible future, the things you see moving forward.
I think one of the things I felt God was saying when we came was, for the church, it's not about living off an inheritance, but thinking about legacy. And I think sometimes we get quite caught up in enjoying the benefits of what it is to be God's people without thinking about what we're doing for the next generation, or to think about how our faith will have an impact on others around us. So legacy was a word that I felt quite strongly at the beginning. And actually doing the building work was part of that legacy. It was making sure we've got something good to hand over to the next generation. And I really didn't want to do a building project. It's not my forte. Anyone who knows me will know it's not my forte. But it was a blessing, actually, and God's provided, and it's done now. So that's kind of a big tick for me. But thinking about legacy does involve thinking about what we do with our faith. It's a precious treasure. Now, what do we do with our treasure? Do we put it under the bed, save it for ourselves, hide it away, bank it? Or do we use it for something to be a blessing to others? And so it's been a sort of slow process of trying to get the church to start thinking about that. And then we've had the wonderful blessing of the Home Office taking over a hotel around the corner from us, which is now pretty much full with asylum seekers, a lot of them from Iran. And so that's brought challenges. We've learned to say a few Iranian Persian words and include them into the services. So it's kind of, sometimes you don't know what God's going to bring. You can kind of go into a situation thinking, this is what we're going to do, and I'm going to start a ministry in this area and do that. And then suddenly God opens a door that you weren't expecting. I think one of the things I've particularly learned is you're not going to be comfortable. I just felt before the door to our asylum seekers was opened, I felt that church had got really comfortable. I was just thinking, I've got everything just how I want it. It's really, manageable. We're all getting on well. The worship's going well. Everyone's quite appreciative of the sermons. I'm thinking, this is perfect. And then everything changed, and I'm just thinking, oh, really? Just when I got it to how I wanted. So I love the fact that God never wants us to be comfortable. He wants us to know that joy and that peace, but not comfortable. Faith should never make us comfortable.
That's great. So there's a lot of friends back home that know you well. It's been great to meet up, to last night we chatted for hours, and it was just a wonderful time, wasn't it? And just to do this little video, just with this little update. But there's going to be many people back home. They're going to be praying. They're going to want to pray for you, for your church here, your new community, for Lee, his work, and all the things he's involved in. What would be the one thing you'd say, actually, this is what we'd love you to pray about?
I think I'm learning that faith is a lot simpler than we think it is. We overcomplicate things. And I'm learning that it's so simple. And actually our strapline for our church, which is to love God passionately, to love one another deeply, and to transform communities. It's that easy. If we love God passionately, we will love one another deeply. And when we love one another deeply, we transform other people's lives. So I think the prayer I would most like people to pray is that for us at SBC, we learn to love God passionately. That's the starting point. And then it all just trickles down from there. And I think you can handle anything. You can take on any challenge, any door that God opens that says, right, we need you to be involved in that. Suddenly it's not a problem. It breaks down all the barriers. When you just purely love as God intended us to love one another, it is completely transformational. So prayers to just keep loving God passionately, loving one another deeply, and then for God to give us the opportunities and his Holy Spirit to bring transformation.
So that's one way we can pray. And as friends, last night we were talking about, those happy days we had, those crazy services we did. We joked a bit about some of the magic we did.
Yeah.
And there were many funny stories. But I think we both realised in that conversation how much our community back home in Dorchester had shaped who we are. So just almost by way of sort of just closing this little interview, I usually say, well, thank you to someone, and they say, oh, thanks for coming, and it's all very nice and very polite. But actually, maybe there's just a little message you'd love to give to people back home.
My time at DBC was absolutely fantastic. We did, Paul, have such a good time. I can always sum it up by saying it was an absolute blast. We did magic tricks. We basically were like little children with Harry as the dad, and we got to do whatever we liked without taking any of the consequences or the responsibilities for it. But it was just the most beautiful and amazing training ground, because I was loved by the people at the church, and I'm so pleased that for some people I'm continue to be loved by them. But also when you're loved, it gives you a freedom to make mistakes. And I think when you're learning, particularly ministry, you want people of grace, people of love, who will allow you to make those mistakes. And I think that was just, for me, the most beautiful opportunity to grow, to learn, and then to fly the nest.
And for both of us, actually, that launch pad into where we are now. We joked last night, didn't we, and said we feel really grown up. we're not sure we like it. We'd like Dad Harry to be back and look after us. But actually, yeah, those years together and growing in that gracious, loving family back home at Dorchester Baptist Church just was special.
I did a little children's talk the other day, and I did a magic trick. Instantly thought of you, Paul, as I did my magic trick. Knew you'd be really proud of me. And I've always thinking of some of the wonderful kind of things that we used to do together. The messy churches that we did, the outside the box services that we did, and all of those things. And I thank the church for allowing us to kind of go slightly off the wall with things, and just to have their support and their love. So yeah, very, very special time.
Bless your family. Thank you for meeting up. We've had a great time. So thank you for your kind hospitality, and I know there are many people back home that would wish of me to send their love to you and the family.
Thank you, Paul. It's been lovely to have you. Come again.